Cell division. Cell division has a couple of different things we need to look at here. One is remodeling, which is the ongoing process of cell renewal. There's two separate related processes for cell division. One is mitosis and one is meiosis. In mitosis, that's the division of one cell into two genetically identical and equal daughter cells. It occurs in the four stages of prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. In prophase, the chromosomes condense and the nuclear membrane disintegrates. Then in metaphase, the spindle fibers attached to the centromeres and chromosomes align along the metaphase plate. In anaphase, the sister chromatids, each now called a chromosome, separate and move to the opposite poles. In telophase, chromosomes arrive at each pole and the new nuclear membranes form. Meiosis is the specialized form of cell division that occurs only in the production of mature sperm and ovum. The process of meiosis involves two consecutive cell divisions, each consisting of four stages. Each resulting cell has a haploid number of chromosomes. Here's a good graphical depiction of the meiosis process. We'll get into this in greater detail in the reproductive unit. Let's talk a little bit about tissue in the human body. So we started at Unit 1 talking about the chemical level of organization, how atoms make up molecules. Molecules form to make complicated molecules and compounds. Molecules form to make complicated compounds and substances. All of these form cells and all the different organelles and parts of a cell. Cells grouped together form tissues. There are four major types of tissues. There's epithelial, connective, muscle, and nerve tissue. Let's talk a little bit about epithelial tissue. It covers all of the external surfaces of the body and lines the hollow organs within the body. It provides a protective barrier. It functions in the absorption of nutrients in the intestines and the secretion of various body substances. It's attached to a basement membrane, which is a non-cellular layer that secures the overlying tissues. Most epithelial tissue has a basement membrane. Much of your epithelial tissue, by the way, is avascular, meaning it is not supplied with blood through the vascular system. What this means, from our point of view, is that epithelial tissue must constantly be remodeled through mitosis. It is constantly dying and in need of replacement. Epithelial tissue is classified really by two separate ways. The first way is by the shape of each epithelial cell. Squamous epithelial cells are flat. Cuboidal are cubes. They're a row of square-shaped cubes, and columnar epithelial tissue is rows of tall, thin cells. Kind of looks like the skyline of a big city. You can also classify epithelial tissue by the number of layers of the tissue of cells in the tissue. So simple epithelium has a single layer of cells, and stratified epithelium has more than one layer of cells. There's also something called pseudostratified epithelium. In pseudostratified epithelium, there's a single layer of cells, but the cells are of varying heights. Actually, when you look at pseudostratified epithelium under a microscope, at first glance it appears to be stratified, but you'll note if you look closely that it's only one layer. It's just that the cells have different heights. All the cells attached to the basement membrane, but some fail to reach the free surface, giving the appearance of multiple layers. There's also transitional epithelium, which consists of layers of stratified cells that change shape from cuboidal to squamous when the organ is stretched. Alright, so that's epithelial tissue. Let's talk a minute about connective tissue. It binds the other types of tissue together. Some examples of connective tissue include bone, cartilage, adipose tissue, and scar tissue. By the way, interestingly enough, blood is considered to be a type of connective tissue. The third type of tissue is muscle tissue. It overlies the framework of the skeleton. It's classified by both structure and function. If we're looking structurally, then muscle can be classified as either striated or non-striated. From a functional point of view, muscle can either be classified as voluntary or involuntary. In striated muscle, when you look at it under a microscope, it has bands or striations. Non-striated means that it's smooth. There's smooth muscle. Voluntary means that you can consciously control the muscle. Involuntary means it is not normally under conscious control, but rather under the control of the autonomic portion of your nervous system. There's three big types are three main types of muscle tissue: skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, and smooth muscle. Skeletal muscle is striated and voluntary, cardiac muscle is striated and involuntary, and smooth muscle is non-striated and involuntary. By the way, skeletal muscle cells are normally multinucleated, which is fairly rare in the human body, meaning each cell has multiple nuclei. Let's talk a bit about nerve tissue. Nerve tissue includes the brain, spinal cord, and the peripheral nerves. Functionally, the human nervous system is divided into the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is made up of the brain and spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system is made up of all other neural tissue in the body. Neurons are the main conducting cells of nerve tissue. Neuron is a single cell in the nervous system. The cell body of the neuron includes the nucleus, the site of the most cellular functions. There's two projections typically extend from nerve cells: dendrites and axons. Each neuron has only one axon but may have several dendrites. The dendrites receive electrical impulses from the axons of other nerve cells and conduct them towards the cell body, and the axons conduct electrical impulses away from the cell body. By the way, let's go back to neurons for just a second. The cell body is also sometimes referred to as the soma, S-O-M-A. You may see that in some of the material. Peripheral nerves in particular peripheral neurons have a very particular shape, and we'll study that in more detail in the nervous system unit. Neuroglia is the connective and supporting tissue of nerve tissue. This includes such cells as astrocytes, which support nerve tissue, and Schwann cells, which insulate some of the axons in the peripheral nervous system. So, we've talked about the chemical level of organization of the human body, the cellular level of organization, the tissue level. Well, different types of tissues working together to perform a particular function form human organs. These organs include the heart, skin, liver, spleen, so on and so forth. A group of organs that have a common purpose, often found in close proximity, but not always, form an organ system. Organ systems include the skeleton and muscle system, or the skeletal muscle system, the circulatory system, the respiratory system, the nervous system. The skeletal system is composed of 206 bones and forms the foundation and frame of the body. The components of the skeletal system include the bones, the joints, the cartilage, the ligaments, the tendons, and the skeletal muscles. There's body regions within that are defined by the skeletal system. The appendicular region includes the extremities and their associated girdles, meaning the shoulder and the pelvic girdles, whereas the axial region consists of the head, neck, and the spine or the trunk. The girdles are the bony structures that attach the limbs to the body. The upper extremity is divided into the arm, forearm, wrist, and hand, and attaches to the body at the shoulder girdle. And the lower extremities are divided into the thigh, leg, ankle, and foot, and attached to the body by the hip or pelvic girdle. The axial region includes the head. The scalp is the skin layer of the head. The skull houses the brain. It's composed of two main parts, the cranium and the facial bones. The bones of the skull are connected together at sutures, and fontanelles link the sutures. The neck, there's three major triangles that lie within the neck: the anterior, carotid, and posterior. The trunk is made up of the thorax, the abdomen, and the pelvis.